In the 60 plus years that our beloved Doctor Who has been on air, the one constant that has kept the programme fresh and alive is that of change. As the great Stephen Moffat has often said, Doctor Who doesn't exist in spite of change, it exists because of it. There's often such great discussion about how the Doctors have evolved from William Hartnell to Ncuti Gatwa, but in this video I wanted to compare how all things behind the camera have shifted over the last few decades, by directly comparing how a Doctor Who story was created, filmed and edited in 1964 versus 2024. For example, how long was spent on an episode then versus now? How much did episodes cost then against today? And how many people worked on the overall production? My name's Ruby, aka Hooby Jones, that's Petrol the Dalek, and you are watching Making a Doctor Who episode in 1964 versus 2024. 60 years of change. Now, in order for this comparison to work, I wanted to match the runtime roughly of the stories compared for a fairer comparison. And seeing as they both aired around the similar time of year, we'll be comparing 1964's The Aztecs with 2024's season finale The Legend of Ruby Sunday / Empire of Death. The Aztecs clocks in at 1 hour 38 minutes and was transmitted between May 23rd and June 13th, 1964, whilst The Legend of Ruby Sunday / Empire of Death also clocks in, funnily enough, at 1 hour 38 minutes and was broadcast between June 15th and June the 22nd, 2024. So to start things off, we need a story, and in 1964 this began with the show's original story editor David Whittaker. As a story editor, he was responsible for finding writers and commissioning them to create stories, and in this case commissioned writer John Lucarotti to create The Aztecs, with Lucarotti being commissioned on February the 25th, 1964 and turning in his completed 4-part serial less than a month later on March the 18th, 1964. Now in 2024 the process is radically different, as the roles of story editor and producer have now been combined under the greater responsibility of the overall showrunner in Russell T Davies, who chooses and commissions writers for each story. In this case, as he's done with all of his finales, Russell penned The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death himself. So we've got our two stories. The next thing is, how much is all this going to cost? Now sadly we've got no official definitive source with regards to the show's current budget, but when Series 14, or Series 1 as Russell likes to refer to it, was announced and in production, Deadline reported a budget of £10 million per episode. This was then directly debunked by Russell in an interview with Doctor Who magazine, where he said that the budget had been exaggerated. There are other reports that the budget was around £7 million per episode, so for this video we'll just say that each episode cost £7 million, meaning the overall cost of this finale was £14 million. The Aztecs, on the other hand, was, well, ridiculously cheaper. According to Doctor Who's original producer, Queen Verity Lambert, the budget per episode of the show during the early Hartnell years was just £2,000 per episode, or £35,629 in today's money, adjusted for inflation. This makes the entire cost of the Aztecs in today's money being £142,516. This means that for the cost of one Russell T Davies 2-part finale, you could get 98 episodes of William Hartnell era Doctor Who, which is just insane to think about considering that Hartnell's entire run is just 134 episodes. Let that sink in for a second. For an hour and 38 minutes of having Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson on screen, you could also buy yourself 73% of William Hartnell's entire output as the Doctor. Right, so we've got our scripts, we've got our budgets, now we just need to make the episode. This time we'll start in 1964 with The Aztecs. Rehearsals for the first episode of this serial took place between April 27th and April 30th, 1964, with the recording for the first episode taking place the following day on May the 1st, 1964. Now you might think to yourself, recording a whole 25-minute episode in just one day for such a big show seems like quite a challenge. Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, as to record a single 25-minute episode of Hartnell era Doctor Who, it had to be done in the allotted time of a ridiculously short 75 minutes. A rundown for the recording days around this time is as follows. 10:30 AM till 1 PM, camera rehearsals for the crew begin. 1 PM till 2 PM, lunch break. More rehearsals and promotional stills being taken throughout the afternoon. 7 PM till 8 PM, tea break. 8 PM till 8:30, final technical tests and checks. Then 8:30 till 9:45 was the recording of the actual episode. Seeing as it was incredibly difficult to edit videotape around this time, Doctor Who was shot entirely live, in chronological order, with the director upstairs in the gallery cutting together the programme live as it was being recorded. The show's intro, some of the music, and even some of the sound effects were played in live during the recording to save money. This process was repeated every week, meaning it took just 4 weeks to go from the first rehearsal to the final recorded serial of The Aztecs. Now surprisingly, shooting The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death didn't actually take as long as you would have thought, because the use of time was divided up much more like that of a feature film, which has become the norm with much modern television. This finale was shot between June 5th and July 14th, 2023. That's a filming time of 5 weeks and 4 days. So in that regard, perhaps the time it takes to churn out a serial and get it filmed hasn't changed that much. But wait, the footage in these episodes still needs to be edited. Now sadly we don't know exactly how long it takes to go from the raw footage to the final edit of a new episode of Doctor Who, but we can make an educated guess based on information Russell T Davies gave to Doctor Who magazine in mid-2023. In the interview, Davies says that he's only just sat down to watch the final cut of the first of the 60th anniversary specials, The Star Beast, in August 2023, with the specials wrapping shooting in summer 2022. Now this is by no means an entirely accurate metric to judge our comparison in this video by, because for one, this was just to edit 3 specials, not an entire 8 episode series. But with them shooting so far in advance, and around 10 months between the conclusion of shooting the finale and the broadcast of the first episode of the series Space Babies, let's just have a total guess and a total shot in the dark that it took around 2 months to edit and do all the post-production of this finale, which is a lot longer than what the Aztecs had, even though it's just a guess. Editing in early 60s Doctor Who wasn't really a thing. As described earlier, with the episodes being shot in linear order as live and cut directly onto the videotape, the episodes didn't really need much in the way of editing. So the episodes were recorded on the Friday night and they were edited the following Monday, with no editing really required with regards to visual effects, as they were all done live and in camera. We also need a little bit of music to help our serials and make them a bit more epic and a bit more dramatic. For the Aztecs, composer Richard Rodney Bennett was hired to create incidental music for the serial. The scores of this era are extremely minimal when compared to what we have in Doctor Who now, due to the programme's incredibly low budget at the time. Although we don't have the exact info available for this serial, for the 1965 story The Chase, an ensemble of just 5 musicians was used to craft just 25 minutes of musical cues which would be used in the serial, and we can assume that a similar routine was followed during the production of the Aztecs. Now for our 2024 epic big budget series finale, we have the legend that is Murray Gold on hand to score the entire episode and record said score with the BBC National Orchestra of Wales, which boasts well over 60 musicians performing the soaring melodies of modern Doctor Who. You're probably wondering how many people are credited as working on the Aztecs versus the Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death. So we'll start with the Aztecs. According to the on-screen credits at the end of every episode, 29 people worked on the Aztecs. This was 12 cast members and 17 crew members. Now of course there's lots of uncredited extras and other people that worked on these episodes, but according to the credits it was 29 people. So, The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death had a total of 20 credited cast members. That's not too bad, that's not changed too much. I wonder how many crew worked on that episode. I sat there, went through the credits and counted 256 crew members working on these episodes. That means the total number of people working on, credited on screen for working on The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death is 276 people. Almost 250 more people worked on this series finale than worked on the Aztecs back in '64. And so we've finally got our completed stories. And honestly, this has been really fascinating and interesting to research and put together. There are a lot of things I've glossed over, such as how many sets were used and detailed specifics of the visual effects used in each episode and the way the sound effects and music were created, but I hope you still enjoyed this ultimately pointless yet fun exercise looking at how Doctor Who's production has evolved since the 1960s. I think the entire process for me highlights the most how attitudes towards television have changed in the past 6 decades, with this attitude in my mind affecting how the programme is made. In the 60s there was no home media, no reruns, and really nothing you could do with these programmes after they'd been broadcast. TV was also seen as a secondary medium to that of film and cinema. The goal in those days was just to get it made the best you could, get it out there and rinse and repeat ad infinitum. Because no one's going to ever see these episodes again, or be critically and academically analysing them over half a century later, right? Today, the lines between television and film are almost non-existent in the home media streaming landscape, and these programmes are made as giant commercial entities, made to be rewatched over and over again, and sold and packaged in various different box sets with extra scenes and features for the fans to enjoy forever and ever. Has the attitude to Doctor Who's production we have now changed the core essence of the programme? Has it made it worse? Has it made it better? That's really impossible to say, but I hope you all enjoyed taking this trip down TV memory lane with me and took away some new interesting facts to bore your friends and family with. And hey, next time you jump online to make fun of a scene in the new series for being too over the top, too fast paced with a trillion visual effects in there, I encourage you to pause for a second and appreciate how far we've come from the live William Hartnell line flubs and the Zabi bumping into the camera to our modern cinematic big budget wonders with Ncuti Gatwa. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to support an independent queer Doctor Who creator, this channel also has a Patreon, and any support on that platform would be so appreciated and mean the world to me, as would any comments, subscriptions and shares here on YouTube. Also, if you want to see a sequel to this video, maybe comparing other aspects or eras of Doctor Who's production, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Who Be Jones YouTube channel.